Hey there, friends. Welcome back to SoundstageEDU. This is Mike, your host, fine arts lifer, drumline lifer, just your overall lover and supporter of the arts. I am here to support you and advocate for you and your programs. Now, if you caught the last episode, the last full episode that is, you know I came in pretty hot. I went off about celebrating mediocrity, and I meant every word of that. But today, I want to flip the lens, because this episode, well, this one's about you, the directors, the instructors, the staff, the volunteers in the trenches. This one is about reminding you that what you do is not small. It's not background noise. It's not just teaching kids how to play music. No. It is much bigger than that. And if you've been carrying the weight of long rehearsals, budget cuts, ungrateful administrators, ungrateful parents, or those late night doubts about whether it's even worth it, let me tell you something loud and clear. You are changing lives. In fact, in many cases, you're saving them. And I'm here to remind you just how much that matters. So let's start here. Something we know, something we see. Our kids are struggling. The CDC reported that nearly 40% of high school students, nearly half, say they struggle with persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness. 4 out of 10. I want you to think about your band room. Look down the rows, across the sections. That means in every line of 10 flutes, 10 trumpets, 4 of those kids are silently fighting battles you may never see. Now here's the good news. Students who are connected to any extracurricular activity, especially the arts, are more likely to stay engaged, to show up, and to graduate. Attendance, it's higher. Disciplinary referrals, they lower. Graduation rates, significantly higher. I read one study that showed students involved in music programs are 3 times less likely to skip school. 3 times. That's not small. That's life trajectory stuff. And you, yes, you, are the reason why. Because your rehearsal space becomes more than just a classroom. It becomes a safe haven. And I can testify to that, because that's what it was for me when I was growing up. Sometimes, when I walk into a band room at one of my local schools or one I travel to, I feel the same thing. I'm 49 years old. And I still get that nostalgic feeling. I get that feeling of peace and comfort. I feel like I have come home. It's very real. And I can't tell you how many stories I've heard that sound just like this. I hated school. I hated every class. But the only reason I even got out of bed was band. Or, I didn't know where I fit. I didn't have friends until I walked into the band room, and suddenly, I was part of a family. Maybe you've heard those too. Maybe one of your own students has pulled you aside after rehearsal and said, "Thank you. You have no idea how much this program means to me." I've known directors who had kids stay after practice just because just because they don't want to go home. Because this room, this ensemble, has become the only place that they feel safe. I was a homeschooled kid. I didn't get to go into middle school band. I was taught percussion by a trumpet player, by the high school band director that lived down the street from us. It's no mystery. I don't need to sugarcoat it that when you're raised in that environment, when you study in that kind of environment, you miss some of the essential social skills and development that you get when you're in a public school. It's not me calling fault to my parents for doing that for me. In the time, that was the best option for me. I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't a troublemaker. I was a bored kid. I wasn't challenged. So my mother, who was an educator, pulled me out during middle school and she taught me. And I was better for it. But I did miss some essential social development. And when I got to high school, I felt out of place. I didn't feel safe. All the kids seemed so much bigger than me because I didn't grow up with other kids. That band room became my safe haven, and it's imprinted itself on me. That's how real it is. And also there's alumni stories that I've heard. Ones that come years later. One I even shared with you guys on a podcast many moons ago. But sometimes you'll get an email that lands in your inbox from a former student who says, "You probably don't even remember this, but the words you said to me my junior year kept me going. You saw me when nobody else did." And if you've been in this long enough, you've heard those stories. And if you haven't, trust me, they're coming. Even myself, who was involved for just a few years, got some of these stories. Because what you're doing, it's not just teaching a piece of music. You're literally giving kids a reason to stay, a reason to keep going. Let me put it this way. Band directors aren't just music teachers. You are lifelines. Think about the ripple effect. That kid who stays in school because of marching band, they graduate, they get a shot at college, they enter the workforce, they start families of their own. And all of that traces back to you refusing to give up on them. Or the kid who's shy, anxious, convinced they didn't belong anywhere. That was me. Until you gave them a part in the show. Until you handed them the third trumpet book, or a cymbal part, or a spot on the sideline crew. That one act of inclusion rewires their brain to believe, I matter. I belong. I can contribute. And that is exactly my story. I didn't feel like I belonged. We didn't know this stuff back then about rewiring the brain. We didn't have that deep of an understanding of the psychology of education. But I can attest to all of that. When I showed up in that drumline, I mean, the trumpet playing high school band director that lived down the street from me that taught me, he told me, I remember, and it still sounded like gibberish foreign language to me when he started telling me about all these things I would have to know how to play in order to play on a high school drumline. And he said it just wasn't realistic because he couldn't teach me those things and I just wasn't good enough. Now, he wasn't talking down on me. I don't want to put that out there like that. But he simply set the expectation for me that I did not have the excellence required to play at a higher level in high school. So when I showed up at school, I was nervous. I was anxious. All of these kids, to me, from my perspective, seemed like adults. They were big. They were, I mean, they weren't big. I mean, we were all the same size. But you know what I mean? My perspective. To me, I was just a little middle school kid that missed middle school, walked into a high school, and all these big kids with stature and poise were standing there holding drums, and I absolutely did not feel like I fit in. They were doing stuff that I couldn't even comprehend. Little did I know how much I would change. And it all came from their inclusion. It all came from my drive to work harder, to be better, and earn my place. And I was quickly moved into a snare drum position. Still felt out of place. But I found my voice there. At that moment, I realized that I did matter. I did belong. And that I most certainly could contribute in that situation. So as you can see, for me, that was not just education. It was healing. It was transformation. And yes, I'm going to use the word again. It was life-saving. That's why I started SoundstageEDU, not just to talk gear or clinics, but to fight for directors like you who are in the trenches doing this work. And if you need a reminder that you're not alone, then come hang out with us online. I'm dropping clips on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of it. Motivation, encouragement, a little bit of fire when you need it, and plenty of practical tech tips. So hit follow, share it with your staff, with your booster club, with anyone who needs it, because we're building this community together. Now, I know how easy it is to lose sight of that in the grind. The buses are late, the drill isn't clicking, the sound system's feeding back again. You're eating dinner out of a gas station because there's no time between rehearsal and the parent meeting. And sometimes I wonder if that's where my fascination with gas station food comes from. Sometimes I almost prefer it. Maybe it's nostalgia. But it's in those moments that it's easy to think, why? Why am I even doing this? Does any of this matter? But let me remind you of something that I failed to see when I was there in your shoes. Every single rep, every long Saturday, every late night phone call with a worried parent, it matters. The score sheet won't always show it. The judges' tapes won't always recognize it. But the kids will feel it. And one day, they'll carry it with them forever. As I have. I mean, I have real stories to prove it. And maybe one of these days, I'll have some of those kids, adults, come on the show to share their stories with you all. We will see. A couple of them are business owners now. They've really grown. So I say all that to say this to you guys, directors, staff, volunteers. You're heroes. And I don't say that lightly. I know the word gets thrown around a lot, but let's call it like it is. Heroes are people who stand in the gap when the world is too heavy. When the problems are too big and they say, I've got you. Follow me. That's what you do. You give kids something to hold on to. You give them structure. You give them joy. You give them belonging. And in this world, that is heroic. So if no one's told you this week, let me be the one. Thank you. Thank you for fighting for kids. Thank you for pushing through the grind. Thank you for being the reason a student keeps showing up. It could be my own kid one day who struggles with even wanting to go to school now in the 8th grade. But as long as she has her fine arts to hold on to, she continues to get up every morning. Those sad, depressed, and struggling kids I mentioned at the beginning, one of those lives in my house. It's not some distant thing that will, quote unquote, never happen to me. It's there. It's real. It's happening everywhere. And listen, I know this isn't my typical fiery self, but if anything in this episode fires you up and you want to help keep this podcast rolling, there are 2 ways that you can help me do that. First, grab any of the free resources I've been putting together at the SoundstageEDU Buy Me a Coffee page. They're on the house. But if you want to toss a little support back my way, you can do that through that page, or even directly through PayPal. I set that up today. I need you to know every bit helps keep the lights on. It helps me carve out time and helps me keep building these tools for you. Second, share this podcast. Drop the link in your Booster Facebook group. Send it to your assistant staff. Let's get this encouragement out where it belongs. Now, let's talk about what's next here. It's October, which means a lot of you are already looking toward winter programs. WGI, indoor drumline, indoor winds, percussion ensemble. Guess what? I'm here for that too. If you need sound design, audio setup, or just somebody to come in and make sure your culture bus keeps rolling forward, let's talk. Same goes for booster leadership. If your parent organization needs guidance, needs clarity, needs a voice of experience to help set culture or structure, I'm available. And if the timing is right, I'll even travel for clinics. Drumline, percussion ensemble, band leadership, booster culture. If you need a fresh set of eyes and ears, reach out. Let's build it stronger together. So directors, staff, instructors, hold your heads high. Walk into rehearsal today with a little extra confidence, because you're not just teaching music. You're saving kids and you are changing lives. And don't ever forget, this world is better because you are in it. And before I sign off, make sure that you're definitely following SoundstageEDU on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Wherever you like to hang out online, it's a good chance we're there. That's where I'm going to be dropping motivation, tech tips, behind the scenes encouragement, little bite-sized pieces of content, not these long episodes. And if you're ready to take the next step, whether it's booster consulting, leadership guidance, sound design for WGI, or even bringing me in for a clinic, reach out. Let's make it happen. I'm willing to work with all of you. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this to raise the bar together.